This is going to be a rather shorter segment because of how much I went on the previous segments. We have a few, not that much minutes left, but some of the top headlines going into the soccer world. Now, obviously, the biggest headline is the European Championships kicking off tomorrow. It is probably the second best international tournament in the history of football, in terms of international football, easily. So, yeah, that kicking off tomorrow, huge. It's going to be one heck of a summer with that and Copa America. But that, Germany, they kick off their tournament against Scotland tomorrow. It's big chance for guys like Havertz, Musiala, Fleury and Wirtz. Huge opportunity for them to, really get the home nation behind them. So, yeah, there's that. There's Edin Terzic. We talked about it earlier. Him quitting as manager after the UCL final. There's Ten Hag. Ten Hag, it was announced that he's going to be staying on at Manchester United. We talked about that yesterday, but there's also been talks between them, not just about a contract extension, but also a little bit talks over a reduced role in how much he has when it comes to transfers. It's clear some of the transfers that have not worked out for Manchester United over the past few years. When you look at Mason Mount, Casemiro, well, not Casemiro to be honest, because you can't expect much, but Mason Mount, Sofian Amrabat, Anthony is the big one. Tyrell Malacia, really that injuries to do with it. Andre Onana too. A lot of these players is what Lisandro Martinez has been a good signing, but this season he's been injured. A lot of these players that honestly, look, when it comes to a lot of these players, injuries has a lot to do with them. But the main one that, there's really no excuses for Erik ten Hag is Anthony. That's the big black mark on his resume in terms of, the transfers that he's brought in, because he's been really a failure. For 100 million, he's been no use, almost. He's been a liability. And in amongst the contract negotiations with Erik ten Hag, they're going to try to include a limited role when it comes to his recruitment, and also the staff, which, really shows what United are doing. They want a similar approach to what this new Chelsea ownership is doing, in having a sort of a yes man as manager. The manager just strictly worrying about coaching the team, and then the board worrying about the players coming in and running the football operations and that. And yeah, that's Ten Hag is going to be allowed still with this new structure to have a voice, but his role will be limited, and the squad will be assembled for him. So I don't know what that means, but it's clear they want a yes man. Now, Toni Kroos, obviously this is his last European Championship. I think it's a story not talked about much, not because of the lack of greatness of, not last European Championship, but just last football games in general in his career. And I don't think this story is talked about not that much because of his ability. That's not why, because he's a brilliant player. It's because I think kind of his character. He's not out there. He doesn't have an emotional connection with the German fans, kind of like a Thomas Muller does. It's a little bit different. A Thomas Muller, Miroslav Klose, Podolski, Schweinsteiger, Philipp Lahm. He's not really like that. He's more of a low-key kind of guy. But still, Nagelsmann obviously is very happy to have him back as they're hosting this European Championship. He talked about how, he said this himself actually, it took a period to convince him because he wanted to know what we were going to change in the future for the national team. He said to me one of the first phone calls that he only will be a part of the team when he has a feeling that we can win something with the team. And then, Nagelsmann, I guess he laid out some sort of plan for Toni Kroos, who originally retired after the 2021 Euros. And then he continued on Nagelsmann. When Nagelsmann was asked by Toni Kroos, so do you know what are going to be the next steps? He said, what are the next decisions, how we can change the team? And Nagelsmann told him. Toni Kroos was like, okay, perfect. Yes, I'll be part of it. Let's rock. And now Kroos, and then he confirmed his return. And now, It is. Also, the fact that this is going to be his last football in general. He's thinking like, let me just play this last final tournament for Germany, us being the home team. He thinks maybe that gives them a realistic shot to win something. So he's like, yeah, let me just play this last tournament for Germany and let me give it for my country one last time. And yes, they open up their European Championships tomorrow against Scotland. We have some very, very good games coming up on Saturday too that we'll be previewing tomorrow. Hungary play Switzerland, which is very crucial in that Group A game, that tie. We want to see how good Switzerland can start off, and there are going to be two major tests for Scotland if they're going to try to progress. Spain take on Croatia, massive, massive game. We're going to see how Croatia is entering this tournament. Is this going to be a similar run to previous? Spain also, we're going to get to see this young team, this new team led by Luis de la Fuente for the first time. And then Italy, Albania, we're going to see how much real contenders of a sleeper team this Albania team can be. I think it's a great way to start off against Italy. It'll be the first, Germany, Scotland, that's also a primetime game. But it'll be the first, besides the host, this will be the first night primetime game at this European Championship. They're going to be playing this game at Signal Iduna Park in front of 45,000 people in that hellacious atmosphere. So, I'm very excited for that game. I'm very excited for Spain-Croatia as well. And yeah, European Championships are only going to get better and better from there. Bayern, they have signed Japanese center back Ito from Stuttgart. It's interesting for me because Bayern Munich, over the past few years, they spent a shocking amount of money on center backs alone. When you look at the likes of Kim Min-jae, Upamecano, Matthias de Ligt, it goes on, and now they're bringing Ito again. By the way, keep in mind they had to bring in Eric Dyer to provide us cover last year on loan halfway through the season, and he came in and he was probably their best center half for the last 6 months, despite this ridiculous amount of money that they've spent on center backs. So is Ito the guy that can really provide some stability amongst that team defensively? I don't know, but obviously Vincent Kompany, he is a legendary center back, so maybe he's able to get that side rolling for Bayern Munich. I'm interested to see how that goes for them next season. Thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sport Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.